It's Pseudo, and I'm joined by Mizpah, and I really did not need to see you do that pre-show. I really
I
didn't.
have no idea what you're talking about. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of what can only be called Cosmotronic. And I do believe people were trying to guess what color T-shirt I would in fact be wearing. So, Screenager, did anybody win?
Can I just say, I really didn't need to see you do that. just to guess.
I like to be consistent, one of those things.
See, what's frustrating to me is the fact that you can get away with something like that on a Twitch stream. The rest of us cannot. So
That is true, but I did think twice before subjecting people to it.
Yeah, and for some reason we're still getting a
And
little
maybe
bit
you should
of...
have thought three times.
I think the stream realizes that you're trying to do the show slightly undressed, so it's pixelating your body, but nothing else. This is really weird. It's just your face is getting pixelated and your chest is getting pixelated, but nothing else.
Well, Pseudo, I tell you what we'll do. We'll try and stop the cameras going to get quite so upset. We don't know who's getting pixelated, just me or everyone, we don't know. So what we're going to do is we'll allow you to tell people what's coming up in the show, and I shall restore the normal T-shirt.
Yes, I appreciate that. Right, so coming up on today's show, we are going to be discussing a lot of information that has been coming out about some of the new stuff, including the Defile. We are going to be talking a little bit about the PvP things that are coming, a brand new arena. We will be talking a bit about the Protostar Games, well, they're Proto Games, actually. We will also be talking... We will also be talking about a few of the other rather unique discussions that seem to be popping up within the WildStar community. However, as a reminder, we are giving away codes for a unique in-game item, and the person who's giving those away is Screenager, who is one of our senior editors here at MMOBuff.TV. So before we go too far down the rabbit hole, which I fear we may have already done because you started the show that way, so much so to the point that your screen has now gone completely black. And I can't see anything from you anymore. It's kind of interesting. You're sort of a shadowy blob. You are he who must not be named. I don't understand why we're having issues today between the two of us. Must have something to do with your shirt. But
clearly,
one of the things I wanted to point out is that we were able and incredibly lucky to actually sit down with Nick Roth, John Weissman, and Megan Starks from WildStar, and we asked them a lot of questions. Now, this is not a question to tell you what's coming up. It's more to let you know what their thought processes are and why they're making the decisions that they're making for all of the content patching that they're doing, along with ensuring that new content that comes out is actually polished and not full of bugs and riddled with frustration for people. So I'm going to drop a link into the chat for our latest interview with them. By all means, folks, take some time, look at it, give us feedback. If you have more questions you'd like us to ask, let us know, and we will hunt them down. One of the things I will tell you is that we are hunting down a very gorgeous, lovely lady who deals with PvP, who may be on the Cosmo show soon. But here's that link for you. When it's ready. This is a key phrase known in the WildStar community. When it's ready.
And indeed, when it's ready is not a bad stance to take, because we're the first people to complain when we find bugs, when we get strange things happen. And MMOs are complex beasts, hundreds of systems pushing and pulling and prodding each other in different directions, and you can get some very, very strange things happen that you're only ever going to find during testing. So it's got to be better to wait that little bit and get the content right. But that said, there is a lot of content coming up. So, Pseudo, should we dive into it? Where shall we start?
I'm going to let you pick because you've been absent for so long.
And I'm gonna pick. Aha! I choose you, number 6. Right, number 6. Clearly, that has to be. I could do it in a game show voice. Would that help?
You were not.
I mean, we're going to talk about the game show now.
Okay, if we're going to talk about the game show, I expect you to do it as a Protostar employee.
As a Protostar employee, you mean I have to do it for money? That would be nice. No, moving on, we're going to talk about the Protostar Games. So, what are they exactly? Well, it is a new 5-man piece of content, but there are 2 versions of it. It is a dungeon, but it is anything but typical. And there are 2 things out there. There is the Protostar Academy, which is a level 10 version of the dungeon, which is all about teaching people the dungeon ropes. The second element of it, however, is the Protostar Games, and this is very, very different to many things you've seen before. To start with, it's a number of rooms from which you'll get a certain number of them, all containing unique challenges.
9 of them.
And I think 9, I think you're going to get 6 out of 9 in a random order.
Correct. Which
Lovely.
means replayability won't be that big of a deal.
No, it won't. Come on down, the price is right, because we got a question right. Right, moving on. The actual challenges themselves run a wide gamut. There's one where you get to dodge a bird and run around collecting vins, trying to do various challenges. There's one where you're fighting marauders on a spaceship. There's one where you're dodging the gauntlet, and my favourite by far, the one you get to play with the Protostar intern destruction mechanism, otherwise known as a fabulous pastiche on American football. And I have to say, I think if they were to implement that style of disposing of interns in the UK corporate life would be far better, but there will be many more lawsuits involving HR departments.
I don't know about that, because if you think about it, all of the interns for all of the legal companies would have to go through the same thing. So
that indeed could be interesting.
It would be interesting. Do you want to
What
intern
I'm
for
gonna be-
MMOBuff.TV? Get in touch. I promise. It doesn't hurt. Sorry.
And we won't stand you in front of machine guns, bombard you with fire, or otherwise dismember you more than 3 times per week. Or something like that. Now, there's 2 things here that they're going to need to get exactly right to make this fly. This is the first time we're seeing a new piece of dungeon content come into the active game. And we're already in a situation whereby, let's say, many people are in attunements or in raiding. Some people are just getting to the end of their 50 journey still, and they're going, what do I do next? How do I gear up? What are my steps? So it's going to be interesting for me where the loot rewards are positioned. Do they put them in the same place as the other 5-mans? Do they make them that 1 notch up? And if so, does the difficulty have to tier with it? And how is this stuff going to sit again in regard to crafted gear? Because it already must be said there's a little bit of a dichotomy between some of the crafted gear and some of the drops you can actually get to come up with sort of best in slots and other bits and pieces. So the hope from my perspective is that there's some items there that really will add to people's gear sets and be a nice sort of step in the ladder towards raiding gear. But to do that and to justify it, my personal feeling is the difficulty needs to be there as well. Pseudo, your thoughts?
I think that's a good point to bring up. However, I think it's also worth mentioning that the original purpose of this particular dungeon was actually to teach people how to group and play together. This is something that, we at least you and I and quite a few of our audience are the kinds of people who prefer a challenge in a game. They don't want to sit there, spam Shadow Bolt, and everything dies. It's really boring. We want the challenge. We want to earn our keep. And it's something that we actually look forward to. And yet there are so many people who are coming into this game who may have only played WoW in its current iteration, or may have never played an MMO at all and have no concept of what it means to group with people, no idea what it means to do group interrupts, no idea what it means to work as a team and actually go up against interrupt armor and pulling out the right abilities at the right time. Now, all of us can admit from the leveling up experience at level 10, you don't have all your abilities. You sit there and you wait patiently for all of your abilities to become unlocked. Or impatiently, as some of us may be when it comes to things like that. But the true crux behind this is to teach people how to group. It makes me wonder if that's a little bit along the lines of what they're looking at doing at the 50-man level. Now, this is a level 10, and a level 50 veteran. That's a mighty leap one can take there. That is a very mighty leap. But they did specifically state, and this is what I think is really exceptional about this, is that the way they're going to do the awards is based on your score in each room. So it's not every time you go in, you're going to be guaranteed this particular type of loot or this particular item or even this particular boss. And just because you finish the dungeon does not mean that you're going to get the same end item. It's going to be based on which of those 9 rooms is open for your squad and how well you handle it.
Yeah, and I think it's probably worth pointing out, I must confess I have not been on the PTR, so bad Mizpah this week. However, my understanding is that the level 10 version is more of a, here's an introduction to concepts, here's how you do a moo, nothing to do with cows. Here's how you do various things. And it's about showing you these 2 groups at level 10 so they can start to understand these things. So later on, when you have to interrupt an ability to get a moo, a moment of opportunity, the pink bar where you get to do more damage for a few seconds, you know what it is. And I think, to be fair, that is needed somewhere. So that means that the content in the level 10 version, the Academy, is by necessity, I think, going to have to be very different and simply involve the same environment. Whereas the level 50 vet content is going to be, well, this has at least got to be at the level of Sword Maiden, which is the last of the 4 current dungeons. So hopefully it's going to push the envelope a little bit. Now, I want to talk about a couple of things, and these are comments for later, I think, Pseudo. Gothic brought up a really good point about the possible changes to attunement that we probably ought to touch on later on.
We'll touch on that.
But I'm going to pick up on something you just said, and I'm going to insert a techie bit. Now, techie bit in terms of gamesplay tech. Now, we probably need to get a little graphic or something for this, and we probably also pick a little segment each week and throw it in. So here we go, rewriting the rules on the fly. But you said interrupt groups. Now, for some people, this is going to be old hat. They're going to know what it is. They're going to know how it works. For other people, they're going, what on earth is an interrupt group? Is it a style 17 of death metal or something else? And the actual answer is this. Some of the fights in the dungeons, particularly the vet ones, particularly when you're going for what are currently silver level timed attunements, you have to do so on a very, very tight schedule. And one of the ways to do that is to proc or to create a lot of moments of opportunity. Typically this happens when a mob casts something. You see its bar go as it starts to do the cast. Some of them are pretty quick. And you manage to interrupt it. How do you interrupt it? You interrupt it by getting rid of all of the interrupt armor and then hitting yet another stun on the creature that dazes it. Sometimes there are 3, sometimes there are 5, sometimes there are 4 armors that need to be removed.
Sometimes 14.
Sometimes 14.
Or 24.
Hopefully not in dungeons.
Well, no, not in dungeons, but, be honest. This is about prepping people for raiding. And as Screen pointed out, a lot of this is how they're making certain people learn how to do things like interrupt as a group, work as a group, but at the same time, they're doing it without nerfing the difficulty of what they've currently got.
Yeah. So an interrupt group is simply this. If I am lucky enough to get to run around in a group where someone else is leading it and I get to relax, then every so often I'll hear someone out going 1, 2, 4, whatever words they like to use. Could be red, green, blue, doesn't really matter. And typically this is people are assigned a number and the order from which to interrupt. So we'll go person number 1 interrupt, and that'll be me, and I'll either hit or I'll miss. Person number 2 interrupt, and so on and so on. And by doing it that way, you've simply got this rotation of people going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and away you go. If someone says, I'm in the stew pot because I'm fighting Tugger and I can't interrupt next because I'm currently being boiled alive, and then number 2, the number 3 would just step up and take their place. We also like to make sure how many interrupts people are running. Often you're interrupting with 2. Sometimes, say as a spell thing, I interrupt with 3, so I have to cast 2 abilities. And finally, sometimes you have double interrupt groups. So groups 1 and 2 go now, because we need 4 interrupts. Group 3 or 4 go now.
Correct.
And that is an interrupt group.
Yeah.
Pseudo, back to you. You were going to say something
interesting. Back to me in the studio. Whatever. Yes, interrupt groups are a big thing, and this is one of the reasons why I appreciate at least the stance that the Carbine has taken in this. Instead of taking a game and nerfing it, they've said, well, if you can't figure out how to do this, we'll teach you. No offense to you casual players, you dirty casual players, you, but it seems some people need to learn how to actually work as a group.
I'm going to have to interject in that I've seen plenty of people who walk around with the hardcore label who don't have a clue what they're doing, and I've seen plenty of casuals who are exceedingly good.
Wow. Right, screen, do me a favor. Throw out another code, just for fun. But yes, when it comes to the proto games, I'm looking forward to it. And it took me a while to realize why they went with Protostar for this dungeon. Do you know why they did?
Do tell.
Okay. What's one of the things you must do in order to actually queue for a dungeon?
Yeah, form a group.
No, you have to find the dungeon entrance. You actually have to discover where these places are before you can queue for them. If you want, you can walk right in once you've found it, but obviously you can't even queue for it until you've discovered it. This is one of the limitations they've put on being able to do group instancing. Now, at this current moment in time, there are a couple of dungeons that you just naturally discover as you are leveling. But if you're going to bring a new dungeon in that is going to impact both the side of the Exiles and the side of the Dominion, the only species besides the Lop who sort of transcends all of them is Protostar. So, at least that's my assumption. I find that to be rather comical, although I would love just a pure Lop dungeon where we all get together and have picnics and lick lollilops.
Can we roast the lops?
No. But we can roast you, you cute
roast,
little Orin, you.
Tasty?
No.
I
Lops
hear
eat
orange doesn't
orans.
taste good.
Lops eat orans.
So let's move on swiftly past the proto games and their fun way of dealing with medals and loot and rooms, and we'll
you should
get our hands onto that.
What you should definitely mention is the fact that one of the changes that is coming out is they are dropping the attunement requirement from silver down to bronze, and they've done this for a very good reason. They, one of the things they stress is they want people to go through these attunement process to make certain they're being prepped for raids. However, when we spoke with them, one of the things that they pointed out was it's the only difference between bronze and silver is actually time. It's not the completion of extra actions or anything else like that. It's literally just a time difference. And that actually doesn't prep you for a raid. The time difference doesn't. But you actually being able to complete it in a relative period of time shows that you're able to work as a team. Thus, they want some kind of time requirement attached to it. So what that means is by dropping it down to bronze, they increase accessibility because then it's not just the 1%ers or close to the 1%ers who can get into the access and start trying to try these raids, which are really interesting because we've got 20 and 40s. But at the same time, it's made it so that, your skills are not being put to the proper test in that situation. That's just going to help you prep for things.
I'm in two minds on this one. I actually personally really like the difficulty level of the dungeons and the silver attunements where it's actually at. And as you play your way through the attunement process, and granted this is coming from a backdrop of having a guild of skilled people around and groups I can regularly play with so you can build up a sense of familiarity with the players you're with. And I say that as a precursor because I actually think there's quite an important element of getting the dungeons done on silver timings without massively overgearing them or anything else. But I like the process because it starts off as this thing is so far away, how are we going to get there? And you can see and measure your progress over a couple of nights on a dungeon and see yourself getting closer and closer and closer until it actually gets done. And there's something to be said for having to play your character under that time pressure, under that ability to perform that puts a bit of stress into the situation. If I put a raid leader hat on, if I know that people can do silvers in the current timing, then I know that they can also cope with a bit of pressure. They can also cope with the fact that they know if they drop the metaphorical ball, it's going to affect people around them. And it also means that those in the group are possibly good at covering for others. So I do see the point that the core capability is not changing with the switch to bronze. And I get that and I accept that. But it doesn't tell me whether someone reran that last fight 316 times. If they did, credit to them and their group for perseverance. That's another plus trait. But
right. See, I see where you're
I
going
don't
with
know.
this, but I think one of the things you need to realize is that if you want, as a raid leader, you now have the option to say, I need to see that you hit bronze and silver, then you can be on my raid team. You have that flexibility now. Whereas before, if you were just a group of friends who were hanging out together, who occasionally get together and do some raids, and you get along well with each other, and it's not like this big, massive, we must be number one kind of a scenario, there are options. And that is fine. But you didn't have those options before. What they're trying to do is give accessibility while still having at least something in place that shows some measure of quantifiable quality for one's gameplay and style.
I tell you what, let's throw this out to the channel because there's been much debate. Is this a nerf? Is this not a nerf? Is this making it easier? Is it not? And I really can see both sides of the argument. But I'd like to know the opinion of the channel. So is allowing people to get attuned via bronze level attunements, this is completing the dungeon without the time constraint. Does it
Bronze
constitute
still
a
has a
nerf
time constraint. You need to
without
remember
the
that.
tight, without the tight time constraint? I must confess I've never even noticed a time constraint in bronze dungeons, to be absolutely honest. I've only noticed it trying to do the silver attunement runs.
There are.
Okay. What do you know what the timing is for the dungeons on bronze?
Not off the top of my head, they're different for each one.
Okay, I'm going to throw
Every
that to the
single
channel
one
as well,
is
please.
different. If I went to all of the documentation that I did for the guild, it's in there, but yeah.
Okay, Nikoni, to answer the question, what are we talking about? We're talking about the changes to the attunement process in WildStar.
Raid attunement process.
Raid attunement process. The continuation of the quest line that actually allows you to start and go raiding. It has a part where you have to kill dungeons, and at silver level attunement there are some quite tight time challenges. At bronze, not so much, and they're changing the attunement level for the quest to go from silver to bronze. So we're discussing, is that a nerf to the difficulty of it or not, and does it make people less prepared for raiding? So I'd love people's answers. Skitty is saying bronze does not have a time requirement.
Okay, so then it's changed from when I looked and put all that stuff together. There was one.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. But again, I still throw out to you, if you were wanting to be one of those hardcore raid people, you have the right to say you cannot be on our raid team until you have gold. You can be like that if you want. So even before, with the silver requirement, you could be that hardcore. In fact, I'd recommend it. Go for it, Mizpah. Be that hardcore. No one can raid till they've got gold on everything. Not just the 5 for attunement, but the new one coming out as well. Try it. I'd love to see how that one goes.
We'll have to see. So I'd still like to know what do people think of that one, but I'm going to bring up another
Skitty,
one.
I do apologize, but when I
thorny
did
issues.
go through them, they did actually have bronze achievement, you must do this stuff, etc. And I could just be wrong. It's been a long time since I've looked at the actual requirements for attunement.
And I want to throw out there, hello Matthew, Skitty, Facington, Nikoni, new names, XBM Davros. Good to see you here. Maybe Screenager will pop up again in a moment, you never know. Now I'm going to throw out another controversial topic. And this is one that some people don't like to talk about. And I don't have tons of information on it yet, so I'm not coming here with all the answers. But we're going to address the thorny issue of server population. Are we seeing a drop in server pop? Some people saying yes, some people saying no, some data supporting it, some data not supporting it. Should we do things about it like server merges? Well, if you do, does it signal bad things for the game? Is it just a sensible reaction? And of course, what many people haven't talked about, despite the clamour for some consolidation of people, is, well, is it expected? Do we expect a drop-off at this point in the life cycle of a new game? Is it really meaningful for the long term of the game? And one that I saw in the forums, if they do decide to merge 2 servers together and both people have the name Hedgehog, who gets to keep the name the Hedgehog? I mean, that could be vitally important to somebody. So
I don't know who it could possibly be important to.
Probably Hedgehog. Or Badger. Anyhow.
We will not touch badgers on this episode, I deny it. And Zero Shot does make a very good point, by the way. The change in the attunement doesn't address the gear grind.
Yep.
So that's
Well,
something to keep in mind as well. Although there are going to be people out there who decide, you know what, we've all got bronze, we're all now ready to tune, we're going to step up to the plate, we're all going to walk in, we're all going to do this. And there are going to be people who challenge themselves to do it undergeared. I can guarantee it. I know of several guilds off the top of my head who get off on doing things like that.
I would argue that while people should take personal responsibility to be as good as they can be, gear, runes, pots, practice, all these things, I still feel the role of gear is very, very overrated and it's very secondary compared to skill.
In this game,
But
I'd
hey,
agree with
that's
you.
just-
I'd agree with you considering some of the things that I have seen and experienced. Absolutely. But yes. So when it comes to server pop, the entire problem behind this is something that was signaled at the very, very start when, for example, here in the United Kingdom and in Europe in general, when the game came out, we had problems. We had way too many players, not enough servers of variety of types. And it was one of the most frustrating experiences, especially for the PvPers,
Yeah.
who every time we turned around, almost every 6 hours, a new PvP server appeared, and then a new PvP server appeared, and then a new PvP server appeared, and what we
What's
know.
that? It's a PvP server.
Exactly. And one of the most frustrating things is the fact that this was something that was begged for. People wanted to have options. And yet,
Yeah.
every single person who has ever played an MMO from conception, or any designer who has ever been involved in the design process of an MMO from launch on, knows that there comes a point where there's that initial, holy cow, there's a new game. Okay, I'm done. And that lull, that little peak happens, and then right afterwards, there's this valley. And it can be frustrating because you start finding some servers not having very many people running around. And then you still find other servers who are like, what are you talking about, man? We are overloaded. That balance is never an easy one to get. No MMO game has ever mastered it, except for the ones who have only one server, like
Mega
Eve,
servers.
and the mega server populations. And even with the inclusion of the mega server changes and shifts they're trying to do with guild wars and things, there is still issues there. So is this a controversial issue? I'm going to tell you what it comes down to is we are all and this is going to sound crazy, but we're all a bunch of whiny little bastards. We really are. What we want is we want our server to be populated with the type of people we like to play with, who hold the same kind of drives that we do. And if there's a lull, and I hate to say it, summertime is a very difficult time for a lot of people. Some people have to deal with family vacations. Some people still have to work. And during the summer, it's kind of expected that people disappear. More people spend time at home playing games during the winter where they can stay warm and have a sip of ale and take down big, bad, pixelated bosses. So I think what we're actually seeing is sort of an impact of the world itself, just people having lives, heaven forbid, and also the fact that some people have come to the game and gone, this isn't for me.
Yeah. I mean, it's worth pointing out that we always knew that elements of WildStar are going to be reasonably niche. Not as niche as in 16 people in the corner, but niche as in we don't expect tens and hundreds of thousands of people going, this is my game. It's always going to have a higher movement and awareness demand and a level of difficulty that some games don't have. It's inherently baked into the combat system.
Absolutely.
But I'm going to pick up on a comment that Skitty made, and not to pick on you too much, Skitty. I love the comments. But he just said, well, Carbine shouldn't have opened so many servers. But for those of us that were around at the time, there was page after page after page of complaints about, I want more servers now. Where are they? Give me my servers. I'm quitting and taking my 7,216 friends with me.
There was someone with a 104-day queue, and there was somebody who had a 72-hour queue, and it's just, there's no way to answer and have that. If someone actually had that magic crystal ball in the development process and went, we are going to have this occur, at which point in time, when everyone starts complaining, I can't log in, they go, just wait. They'd make millions, because you'd be able to properly plan for things like that. And unfortunately,
and if you know how to solve that conundrum, please contact us privately. We'll start a company, and
we'll make
you
millions.
Get to pick the color of the yacht.
Yes, exactly. But, you know, the world of Nexus is massive. It's massive. Even from one part of a zone to another part of the zone is massive. And that in its own right has an impact. So you don't want to not have too many people around because you would literally feel like you're alone. And that doesn't make an MMO fun.
No, now I'm going to pick back up on Skitty's comment going, yep, it was around, so apologies, Skitty, I made the assumption that you weren't, that's my bad. And he says, yeah, it doesn't necessarily make it right just because they give in to the complaints. And I guess it's a tricky juggling act, and hindsight is a wonderful, wonderful tool that we wish we all had. Could they have opened less? Possibly. Would people have put up with more queues? Possibly. Even now, I don't necessarily know. Now,
I'm always going to hold a small little grudge in my heart, as much as I may love Carbine and as much as I may love the development team and the game. RP PvP? Seriously?
Yeah, we'll still moan about the lack of that.
I'm going to still moan about the lack of that, because that was one of the most difficult things to go through in a guild environment. But had they had that, just one, that probably would have eased some of the PvP problems they might have had here over in Europe. Just saying. But again, hindsight, brilliant little thing.
It does always help. So, what do we think? What is the MMOBuff best guess? What do we think they should do? Do we think we need to go down to less servers? Do we think this will just solve itself, give it a little bit of time and the exit from the summer period? Do the pluses outweigh the minuses? Is there enough of a problem out there or not? I've got to say my perspective is jaundiced. I log in, there are people. I'm not on a server where I log in and I get an empty, desolate wasteland full of tumbleweed. If there's people out there and that's your server, tell us. It'd be good to get a handle on what's
also,
happening
what server
from
it
the horse's
is.
mouth. What server? EU, US. Pseudo, you get first crack at that answer. How do we fix the problem?
To be perfectly blunt, considering the amount of servers that we have and the way things are going right now, I would actually request they wait until after Christmas or the holiday season. Actually, I'd say New Year's. Give it some time. I know several people who can't even get their hands on the game right now because they need to wait. I know other people who have the game but can't play because work is insanely busy throughout the months of August and September. So I know, just off the top of my hand, probably about 60 or 70 people who can't play the game right now because of what's going on in their lives. Now, if anybody out there has even a small fraction of friends who are in the same situation, be it they're moving or be it they have themselves, a job that's just a little frustrating during this time of the year, it's going to have an impact. Give it some time and weather the storm and see what happens. Don't be so quick to make a knee-jerk reaction and do something. The game has been out for how long now?
A couple of months.
Yeah, we're going on 3 months here very soon. That's not very long to start making knee-jerk decisions about anything. And we don't, unfortunately, and maybe even fortunately, although with the open door policy that Carbine has with sharing their thoughts, we don't see the metrics. We don't know the reality. It is entirely possible that they know that a particular area or zone is a bit more desolate than another area or zone on a particular server. And one of the things these guys seem to have a very good grasp of is how to slowly fix those things and do it in a manner that's polished. After all, if they realize that, we'll say, Whitevale becomes the most boring place for people, you may find open world events occurring there to bring people in and to bring people back. I mean, hey, Blighthaven is a recap of...
Carry on.
Go on, Mizpah.
Blighthaven is a recap of. I don't get the question.
It's a zone. You get to revisit a zone that you visited leveling up, and it's changed.
I thought you were saying Blighthaven was an analogy to something and trying to work out what on earth it was.
It's a hedgehog.
Analogous to.
No, but my point is...
That's why I don't like it.
I just don't think you like me, Mizpah. But what it comes down to is there is an awful lot that they can do. But if they knee-jerk react to every time someone gets frustrated by something, they're never going to actually be able to pull their metrics together and go, right, we can solve this problem a different way. For example, instead of nerfing dungeons, let's introduce a new one. That's a real solid approach. And that kind of approach takes time, it takes effort, it takes knowledge, and it also takes understanding of the systems that they've got that we don't have. We can only speculate at.
Yeah. Now I'm going to throw Scream just asked a great question in chat. He's giving away another code. His question is, somebody name him the first Protostar housing quest you get in-game. See who can get the answer with that one. Now, I'm going to say I think you're right about waiting, Pseudo. I don't think if there are that many problems, and I say that many problems, obviously they have real numbers. They can see the peaks and the troughs in actually concurrent logins on servers. Any data, any choices have to be based on actual data, not necessarily just player perceptions. Perceptions are fickle things. They should possibly, however, though, wait till after the summer period. Wait till after Drop 3. There's some changes to other systems coming in that could well impact how people interact with the game, and then take a look and see what's actually happening. Now, with all that said, we still have more stuff to go through.
We do, and I have to say, so when's the last time you went up against somebody that had Exonite in their body?
In real life, not that frequently.
In game. When's the last time you went up against somebody with Exonite in their body? This gives me a chance to tease Mizpah because he doesn't understand WildStar lore at all.
Well, the last person I would have... I've gone up against an Exonite weapon, I do believe.
When's the last time you went up against a Makari?
Oh, not frequently. They're on my side. Not ever, actually.
Makari are not on your side, dear.
No. Shh. Shh. It's a secret.
Wow. This is the
You always tell me
interesting
I'm a robot.
This is the thing. We have a whole bunch of new zones coming out. We have the Defile zone coming out, which is... It looks really good, considering the fact that it's not impacted by the strain, and that's because of Exonite. Now, the reason why I asked this particular question of Mizpah is because of the fact that one of the things about Exonite that's really awesome is the fact that the Elden used it for a lot of things, which we're only starting to discover. But did you know that the Makari have Exonite inside them, and it's what stores their brains, their directions, their motivation. It's what fuels them. Did you know that?
Now, if that is the case, no, I didn't know that, but if that is the case, how come they're not better equipped to kill strain than anyone else? Because we know that it actually repels strain.
Probably because of the fact that they're not using it to its full capabilities because they don't know how. All it is a battery.
Yep.
How else can they really do it?
We shall have to wait and see. So what happens in the new zones? So a few things happen, and we've got to be a little bit careful not to be too spoilery here. So it's going to be, I think, impossible to have no spoilers. I think we can agree on that one, Pseudo, but we'll try and limit the spoilers.
Spoilers! 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 Not as many as you might think because they don't want to share. They don't want you to know until it's out. They want you to know really badly, but anytime you try to get them to go, so about that world story, you're just going to have to wait and see.
Yeah. So a few things happen. A new zone gets opened up, and you get to see the first thing that Drusera created. And you find out that there's a lot of Exonite around, and you start to learn why. And after establishing a little bit of trust, you get to go into yet another place that perhaps isn't so nice, that's more tailored for 5-man content. And it goes from being bright and shiny and lovely and locktastic to being dark and devious and evil and things like that.
Are you trying to say lops aren't evil?
They're shiny.
Shiny. They're evil. That's why I love them so much.
They're just psychedelic, and they've been licking too many lollipops. I have no opinion on evil. Close. Marketing.
He does not know his lore.
Well.
He just does not know his lore, but that's okay because
they're lollylop lollipops. That's fine. So as well as having an area geared towards single quests that tells you more as to what's going on, you also get to go through, after establishing a little bit of trust, into an area which is a little darker. And there's another one of those terraformers there, but this one is, well, there's a number of terraformers, different elements pointing towards an interesting device in the sky. And you've seen these devices before, and they're used for certain things, but this one has been a little bit corrupted. Well, quite a lot corrupted,
I'm
actually.
about to say, really, your ability to judge measurements is disturbing to me as a raid leader.
You have this might only be 5% corrupted compared to things we're going to run into in the future. There has to be room for growth here. However, one of the characters we've run into, the Defiler, has been playing with it, and you get to fight him eventually. You get to do some funny things with dealing with elements and sort of the balance between water and fire, and having to attune and counter-attune to play with stuff. And there's some good-looking content in there. But did you know, Pseudo, that amongst other things, you can enter the intestinal tract of a worm?
Yes. Not only can you enter the internal intestines of this, you can actually play around. This is the thing, what they've decided to do with their content releases is ensure that, at least in this area, there's not just lore, there's not just story, there's not just stuff for you to do, there's not just new 5-man instanced content, not necessarily a dungeon or an adventure, just an area that's known as it's instanced for 5 people. That's the way they're describing it, which makes you wonder, the dirty dogs. But anyway, within that, they're also bringing a whole bunch of stuff for your path as well. So for people who like to explore, for people who are the soldiers, for people who are the scientists, for the people who are the settlers, there is so much more coming. And I'm going to be really curious as to how they push the system here. Because it's, in the end, it's not just about doing your dailies, making certain you've got your rep ground, making certain that you've got yourself all your dungeon requirements. It's more than that. And if you want to keep a game having longevity, you need to ensure that there's something to keep people entertained. And one of the things that does that is the pathing system. And the fact that they're continuing to keep that going, to me, is a pretty powerful sign of their stability and their understanding of their players. But that's just my 2 cents, for lack of what they're worth.
No. It's going to be interesting to see.
Explorers are useful, Man of War. How dare you, sir? Oh, wait.
Explorers are wonderfully useful.
Are you an explorer? You're right, Man of War. They're completely and utterly useless.
Yes, but there's a huge benefit to me being an explorer. Should I ever, for reasons utterly beyond my control, discover that I might be maybe slightly lost, I can just say I'm exploring. It's what explorers do, right?
If it helps keep you entertained, then by all means, I support it.
From what I hear, it actually keeps everyone else entertained, but that's another matter.
I have no doubt about that, but you are not exactly known for your ability to navigate. No. Not in a game, at least.
And there's one more bit of content coming out in that new zone, which will be interesting, and that's some 20-man group content.
Yes.
Now, this is open world group content. And you have a fight with a number of stages. You get to try and destroy, I believe it's the exogangalia. I do believe it's the exogangalia of some blightworms, because the blightworms are busy spitting out stuff and making again, too many spoilers, but they're doing something we don't want them to do, or at least most sane people don't want them to do it.
Yes.
So you can go on a bombing run and destroy their exogangalia, which is now the word of the day.
However,
and if you can
what's really nifty about this, what's really interesting to me about this is they've stressed there are multiple different flight paths. So it's not you doing the same bombing run every single time. However, this ganglia that he keeps talking about here actually regenerates so fast, you actually still have to coordinate with everybody else in the area doing the quest with you. And this to me is exceptional. This is not the kind of thing you can show up with one person and go, I'm going to do this alone. No, it doesn't work that way. You are forced into group content, and I, as someone who loves community, love that. I know there are going to be solo players who are sitting there going, well, you curmudgeons, I do apologize. But to me, when you start getting to the end game, having the ability to group with people is awesome. Exactly.
And of course, if you don't want to do that, there's the whole other side of the area, which is solo based, and there is
Yes.
plenty of good stuff out
And
there
there's
as well.
PvP, bringing out a
Paths
beautiful
questing and
arena.
PvP. And I guess that's our segue into the next section.
I'm good about that.
Let's let you do your PvP thing, Pseudo.
My PvP
Tell us about the new PvP arena.
Right. What's funny is, as we've been going through the show, I've completely forgotten the name of the new PvP arena. What I remember and what I call it in my brain is two holes.
I believe
Two holes,
the working
two
title
levels.
is something like the Icebox.
It's known as the Icebox, is the working title, which means it could probably change. However, what I find absolutely hysterical about this is it is two levels and there are two holes. So I see it as the 2-2 or the two-hole, two-level, or something along those lines.
Pseudo will be seen at some point on a server near you, fighting in the Icebox wearing a tutu. You have been warned.
Hey, it would look really, really good on my Mordash. It really would.
Now, they're introducing some new stuff here. It's much bigger, as you've been saying, for the arena.
Yes,
It's going to be
it's
2,
a
2, 3,
huge
3,
arena.
5, 5.
Yep, all of the different arena team sizes can be fit into this one.
It does have 2 levels. And of course, the holes allow for a load of strategic gameplay. You can dive down one to escape. You can dive down one to escape into the ambush of someone's waiting friends, and things of that nature. Screenager pointing out that it reminds him of the temple map, all snowy and multi-leveled from Guild Wars 2.
Oh, there you go.
But we shall have to see how it pans out.
Yes.
Now, here's the thing then that I think I want to throw at you, possibly nearing closing before we do random questions. Where do you think the state of the game is at for this point in its dev life cycle?
And I kind of figured you'd bring this one up. This is the thing. You know, I have been burned so many times by MMOs over my gaming career, and it stretches a long way back. I'm an old lady, folks. Just accept it. Sorry. And one of the things that always irks me about an MMO is the fact that it sort of feels like they don't care after it's been released. This is not to say that this is the truth behind what developers are really trying to do, etc. That seems to always have been what turns me off to a game, is when I start feeling like they've kind of gone, right, we've put it out, we've raked in the money, now we sit back and, who wants to play foosball? It sort of has that feel to it. WildStar doesn't have that feel to it. And I have to take my hat off to NCSoft as a whole here, because this is something that I feel needs to be pointed out. Guild Wars 2, ArenaNet, completely restructured their entire development team in order to bring out 2-week iterative living world stories and changes and other things, including things that are changing in their world v world, etc. Now, that's a little too fast for me as an individual. Every 2 weeks kind of just, it makes it, for someone who, when she gets a little bit of free time, goes, woohoo, takes a drink of water, and then realizes she has work to do, every 2 weeks is daunting to me. So the fact that WildStar and Carbine have chosen to do almost 1 month patching is, first, in my opinion, a good choice. But one of the things that they stress, that Nick, John, and Megan stressed when we interviewed them, beyond a shadow of a doubt, is if they are working on content, be it PvP, be it open world content, be it a new dungeon, be it a new zone, be it anything, and it is not ready, it will not be released. However, because they have so many things in the work being designed all at one time, there's always going to be something for them to bring out that will be in its polished state. So I feel, because of the way that they've made their decisions, that the game is still inviting to play. That I'm not going to be left behind because I have to take 2 weeks to do work, and I can't actually do the living story. And when new content comes out, I'm not going to be sitting there going, what the hell just happened to the world? It's going to look the way I think it should look, the way you saw it before you completed your quests. And this to me just means, in the end, if I have to stop for 6 months, I can stop for 6 months, come back and enjoy myself. Now, if they've decided to make design choice changes by then, so be it. But I feel relaxed, and I feel like it's going to remain welcoming. So in their current state, I'm pleased with them. I'm tickled pink. I will wear a tutu, dress up like a lop, and dance around a campfire for them. Although this is probably not something you will ever see me do, even in a cosplay event. But I would, because I think they've got it right. They don't have
Carbine,
it 100%
if you'd
right.
like to see this, you need to make a request here and now. Otherwise, you can be saved from that vision. Just saying.
It's like starting the show with Mizpah without a shirt on. Please no. Please no. You do not want to be blinded by that. As a side note, did you know that the brain's weight is 2% of human body? Which means I have an incredibly big brain. Do you like that? Do you like that?
It's not bad.
Okay,
So-
sorry. But anyway,
So let's
like the
put in
state
some
it's in.
quick. Yeah. Let's put in some quick thoughts. The game has now had a chance to be out there and be played. The first early adopters have had a chance to play, get their teeth into it. Some have stayed around, some have not. But you know what? That's going to be expected. You've got a wave of transient players in these games these days. And I sound old, but you've got this "I want it all now" mentality. And it's new and it's shiny. I'm going to play it, and where's my epics? Where's my stuff? Why aren't I the best in the world? Oh, I'm off to another game. There's something new on the horizon. You're going to have that crowd. They've come in, they've left. What we've got now is the game. We've got the economy, we've got the quests, we've got the structure, we've got the world, we've got everything happening. We've still got a community and a dev team going, we've got our fingers in this, we're tweaking this, we're doing that, we're making changes to this. There are a lot of things in a constant iterative state of change, but that's as a result of feedback and testing and
Yeah.
looking at what's happened in the real world. Take a look at runes and rune crafting. We'll probably do that one next week, I guess, Pseudo. There's a 7-part post series just gone out on the forums talking about upcoming changes to runes. They haven't just gone, here's the system, live with it, oh, we'll do an update in a year and we might change something. It's this constant state of flux. You know what? No bad thing. Is the game delivering what everyone wants? Probably not. Is it making a lot of people very happy?
There isn't a single game that can
actually
do
it
that.
is.
But, you
So,
know, this
I
is
think
the
the thing to
thing.
take away is if they keep doing what they're doing, if they keep iterating, the game will keep changing, and those changes are probably going to be net good. Have they done some
Absolutely.
stuff that I don't personally agree with? Yes, they have.
Oh,
See the
hell
call
yeah.
to go from silver to bronze for attunements. Do I agree with
See
it?
the lack of an
No, I
RP
don't.
PvP server to see one of my biggest complaints and gripes.
Do I understand it? Yes, I do. Because they've explained why they're doing so. And that's important.
That's
I can
the
live
key.
with decisions I don't like if I know why they're being made.
That's the thing. I have even in today's day and age, these guys are maintaining a bit of what they started pre-launch. They started, hey, we're listening. And they are listening. They may hear what you're saying and not agree with you, and you may just have to suck it up, Buttercup. But at the same time, they are listening. They are catching things. They are seeing things. I know for a fact that community managers are busy as hell.
Yep.
They're strolling through those forum posts. We have people who are constantly looking for things, trying to ensure that they are bringing, like Mizpah said, a net effective positive to the game. And in the end, as long as they continue to do that, and as long as they are blunt and honest, even by going, well, we made it a lot harder than you guys really thought you could accomplish, and because of that, we're nerfing everything because you all suck. Even if they're honest and say that, I'm still going to support them because I have yet to run across an MMO development company that has been so honest, including going, we screwed up, and they've done that before.
Now, here's one thing to bear in mind to the community at large while we probably take some questions. So
Yes,
here's
bring
your
questions.
call for questions. Anything
Screen,
you
are
would
there
like
any more
us-
codes, by the way? If you wouldn't
I
mind
think he's
letting
just
us
doing
know.
one.
Oh, fair
I think
enough.
he's just doing one now. So another code to be given away. And by screen, you've not sent us our codes yet. Where's mine? Anyhow,
You gotta
thing
go
for the
through me to get
community
your
to
code.
bear-
I want you to know that right now. To get your code, you need to go through me, and we'll discuss that after the show.
now, one thing though for the community at large is if we want to maintain the level of transparency and communication, by all means disagree with what is said.
Yes.
But I'd love it if people were a little bit more respectful when they did so. There's not, Carbine sucks cupcakes because they said this. Not very
It's not constructive, no.
I mean, how is
And it actually
someone
makes you look
supposed
like
to
an
answer?
idiot.
How is someone supposed to answer your question if they've got a mouthful of cupcake? I mean, just think about it. However, disagreeing, saying why you disagree, is how changes get made.
Exactly.
It isn't really hard.
Exactly. And honestly,
And,
if you think...
Strinager, I agree, I should go running more frequently. Thank you for reminding me. Pseudo!
You, sir, are a very naughty, naughty man. But yes, so for me, what it comes down to is this. If you've got something horrible to say it, but do it in a constructive manner. If you don't do it in a constructive manner, don't be surprised if they ignore you. This is a little tip from people...
I'm going to log in now, try and get this code.
No. Screen, do not let Mizpah get these codes. No. He needs to go through me to get his code. Okay? As long as we're good with that, that's good. But no, what it comes down to is this. We've had community managers come on to our Tuesday show, which is our community show called The Campfire. We've had a couple of community managers come on now, and we've asked bluntly, what is it you look for in feedback, both positive and negative? And in all honesty, the community managers will be pretty honest in saying if all you're doing is flaming, even if you have a really good point, they will be more likely to glaze over in their eyes and go, oh, they're cursing again. Who's next? If you want to be heard, be clear, be honest, and just go, this actually pisses me off because what you've done has impacted me this way. Understand, I appreciate what you're trying to do, and I know how difficult it is, but seriously, guys, you've missed this one thing. And if you haven't, can you explain to me why? And you'd be surprised at the way that they actually come back to you and the way that the world will actually work with you. So...
Apparently we have misproofed codes. I'm not quite sure how they work.
I love the fact that Screen's all on the usage
all
of
caps.
caps today. Exactly. Ox says, Carbine has been too silent on some issues, though, and when the question was asked, why is the 1800 PvP weapon best in slot for raiding, the dev on stream even told BS by saying, but you can't put PvE runes in the PvP stuff. Which is not true at all.
I say I don't have any PvE gear to attempt to put PvP runes in, but it's not my understanding.
I know for a fact that there are some big changes coming to how gear is handled, so...
Exactly what I was saying.
Yeah.
Bear in mind that devs are often playing for months on different internal builds.
Exactly.
They might be so used day to day to being hands-on with something, I could imagine it would be very easy to not keep track of what changes are in what build, internal, external, live, next patch, when you've got access to all of them. Just saying, it might be confusing.
That's one side of it. Another side of it is if you have people trying their best to answer all of the questions, and they are literally responsible for 17 different systems. And remember, MMOs are multi-layered. They're multi-tiered. Every system impacts each other. You guys may have a conversation that PvP needs to be a particular way, but you also have to remember itemization is impacted by that. Questing is impacted by that. Loot drops is impacted by that. How they handle abilities. All these systems integrate as one. So someone may have given the wrong information because they really didn't know.
Maybe you'll be right later. Who knows?
Maybe it'll be right later. That's how I tend to look at
question,
it. Yes.
Why is the 1800 PvP, I think it's the arena weapon, the best in slot for raiding? Answer? Because actually that's a little bit broken, in my personal opinion.
They need to re-itemize it.
To gain the best possible pre-raid PvE weapon for raid content should involve utilizing those skills that you're planning to use the weapon for. The best weapon for PvP should be the one that involves using PvP skills in arenas. Ox Z, I'm going to refer to you as.
I like him as Ox.
Yeah. We're going to call you Ox. Okay. I'm sorry, Pseudo has spoken. You're now called Ox.
If I'm wrong, I apologize, and you are more than right to yell at me. By all means, please do. I do apologize.
Should it happen? No, it won't. we can point to several things. We can point to the fact that, to be honest, AP itemization on crafted gear is a little too high. Much as I'm wearing it, I've got 125 AP on my chest right now, but it de-incentivizes me to go and... well, it doesn't de-incentivize me. I can't do it. I can't, outside of Raid, improve that chest. I might be hard-pushed even to do it in Raid, until after the changes with slots and specials and other bits and pieces.
Yeah, and that's something we know that is coming. And, you know, it's a little frustrating right now because it's not there, but, you know, I take my hat off to them for trying to change the system.
What we can say is, if I'm honest, let's look at itemization across the board. There's 2 or 3 areas where it's suboptimal. Maybe even a couple of examples are a little bit broken. There was one leveling. There was a level 32 gun, I think it was, that you didn't actually replace till about level 47.
Yeah, I got that.
Yeah, you could get the item, imbue it, and off you went, happy as Larry, going, I'm going to ignore guns till they hit level 50. Or something like that.
Pretty
but
much.
They are aware. They have said, yeah, we'd like to tune this and do this a little better. Things like the new Protostar Games coming out, good chance to try and fix that, perhaps. It'd be great if something dropped in there that, let's say, was a very rare drop that required the gold run with all the challenges done, or at least the roll on the gold table with the other changes coming up. Or are now in, actually, sorry, the different multiple roles on the gold loot table depending on your performance in the game. Good chance to try and fix it. But as the game gets more and more mature, it's only 3 months in, those sort of itemization faux pas should become less and less as things have a chance to be sort of more integrated and more changes are understood. Let's bear in mind, itemization in other games 3 months in was pretty darn broken as well.
I agree with that. Absolutely agree with that. And in the end, the game is always going to be in a state of flux, a state of trying to balance everything. Scales are always going to flow one way, one patch, another way, another patch.
Yep.
In the end, the net question really is, are you having fun? And if the answer is yes, it's okay if it's still broken.
I still have no plat every time I need to re-rune or do stuff because I seem to be spending money faster than I'm earning it, but hey, that's me. I'm still having fun.
You are horrible with money and horrible with directions.
But I do believe Pseudo.
Yes. Well, Screenager.
Up to the end of the show. What did a code go out?
A code did go out. See? Misproof. Oh, yes. Give Mivs a soapbox, and he won't notice codes passing by. But, Screenager, how many codes did we have left in that little tiny stack? Not the other one, but the other one.
the other one? The one that's not the other one?
And you don't know what I'm talking about, but he does. He is my apprentice, after all. But yes. Okay, it's not.
You said apprentice.
Bad. Yes, and of course you're going to think that, but he is nothing like that. He's better. He's awesome. That's just me. So, yeah. We're just going to wait for him to catch up in the conversation.
Yes, Screen, we have decided.
No, you... If we have one, it goes to the people who are watching, not us.
I'm watching.
Swagzilla has spoken. Yeah, I could smack you.
Indeed, yeah, ask the stream. That'll work. Ask the stream. They're all going to come out and support me, clearly, because of my opinions. What could possibly go wrong?
Well, there you go. You have to decide. Do we give it out to another person in stream? Do you give it to Mizpah, or do you give it to me? I'll give you a hint. You give it to me, it ends up back in the stream.
No, let's give it to the stream. One more for the stream, please.
Poor Mizpah.
Apart from that, do we have any final closing questions while we wait to give another code away? And then I think it's time for us to disappear in a puff of smoke.
Smoke puffing. Great. Set a question. Pick a random question.
For any more.
Pick a question, Mizpah.
Oh, I'm picking a question.
You're picking the quiz question that the stream will answer. And whoever answers it correctly wins. So it needs to be WildStar related.
What does the number I relate to?
No! Mizpah, no! Absolutely not. It must be WildStar related. Do I need to retrain you in the ways of swag, dude?
Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
Okay, let's come up with a WildStar related question.
I have been rating.
I have one. What is, and I'm going to have to double check the answer, I know it, and I'm going to make sure I get it right before I throw it out here. What is the name of the optional boss that is occasionally needed whilst running Kel Varath? There you go.
Wow.
What is the name of the optional boss that is occasionally needed whilst running Kel Varath?
There you go.
Now,
there's your
check,
question.
If nothing else, I'm going to check the spelling of this answer.
Right. So, Mizpah, have you been rating? We've had experience rating.
We have been rating.
It's exciting.
It's fun. It's crazy. It's. We probably should do a whole episode on that and on the end of the attunement process and stuff like that. And we'll probably do that one coming up soon. And Surge King was actually right with the question that unfortunately you said doesn't count.
Yeah, sorry, Surge King. WildStar related. So favorite dungeon and adventure.
We have an answer. No, is that the right one? Yes, I do believe it is. 1 second. I'm going to make sure.
Mizpah doesn't even know the answer.
No, I do believe the thing I remember is the bleep bleep for the 6 circles and the exact pattern you have to run every time it triggers it. That is correct. That is correct.
Zobius is right.
Checking. Yep. Yep, Zobius is dead on.
Good on you, Ben. Good on you. So yes.
Good answer.
Zero Shot wants to know your favorite dungeon and adventure.
Skullcana.
Why?
Because of the last fight. Because of the fun with the lasers.
Sword Maiden. Because I like to listen to the people whine. This is too hard! This is so difficult! Not really. They don't really do that. Not in my guild, at least. But I do still appreciate it. Is an incredibly difficult thing to do, especially if people haven't mastered the jump. Just gonna say, the jump is a bit complicated for some people. Some people.
Yeah, and I also like the variety on Skullcana. I love the bit where you have to go sort of underneath in the bubble. It takes a while to sort of get DPS to where it is and get movement and everything spot on. And it's a great example. You first enter that dungeon on Vet and you go, how on earth am I going to do this? Through to, oh yeah, we're at the end again. And you can sort of track your own progress through that journey as you try it again and again and again. And that, to me, is the hallmark of great design. It's a really good, fun, engaging dungeon experience that rewards more than just turning up and mashing buttons.
Excellent. So, any other questions that you guys have for us? Now is your chance to get them in. Do you understand that while we go to get ready to close out the show, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of crazy information because Mizpah's been so far out of the loop, he has no clue what's going on anymore. So this is a chance for me to inform him and you. Remember, friends, this September we're celebrating our 1-year anniversary, and our 1-year anniversary is going to be celebrated with swag, style, games, and show changes. Very important. So, how does this work, and what does this actually mean for you all, and what does it mean for Cosmotronic as a whole? Cosmotronic is ending. Something else is taking its place. And something else, we'll still discuss WildStar, but it's got something else being added to it. And let's just say the delicate line that we walk will be one of wickedness and weevils, because I want to use many W words there. So I shall do so.
Wonderful.
So, what is happening next week? Because as you know, MMO Buff episode 40 was the last MMO Buff podcast on Monday. I hate to say it, but I'm sorry, you're just going to have to tune in and find out. It'll give you a small preview of some of the things we're going to be doing in September on Monday. The campfire is going to remain the same. Blizzard forecast, Mizpah will have to inform you guys as to what's going on there. The data mine is still going on, and at this current moment in time, I think I have about 18 guests lined up, even from some rather big AAA industry developers who want to come talk about game development and game design. We also have some PR people, and our guest next week is actually a part of a publishing company who wants to talk about what it takes to be a publisher as an independent developer. Next Friday will be our last Cosmotronic in its current iteration.
But do not despair.
No, don't. And of course, remember, folks, Top Draw has changed. You can now get it every Wednesday on our YouTube channel. And yes, we have swag to give away there, too, if you go look us up. So, there's also going to be some new team members joining MMO Buff, and many of you will get a chance to see their fruits and labors. In fact, we had a new artist join us who did Ed's Guild Wars 2 image on our website today. If you haven't had a chance to read that,
awesome.
Go read it. It's an exceptional interview that he did with Devin Carver, who is the World v. World guy for Guild Wars 2. Because they're doing changes, man. And we also have some people joining us who are going to do nothing but streaming of a variety of games. And on top of that, there are other people who are joining to also write for us. And we've got some new hosts coming in. It's going to be a crazy September. It's going to shake up the foundations of everything MMO Buff related. But we are going to be doing an insane amount of stuff. And in the end, it's all for you. So if you have any suggestions, if you have any ideas, get in touch with us, voice at MMOBuff.TV. And for those of you who've been hounding me trying to figure out when that game jam is going to be, you're going to have to wait. I've just brought into the team someone who is going to be helping me do nothing but organize the Data Mines game jam. And that is a nightmare unto itself. Organizing something that big, especially since it's going to be a 48-hour game jam from idea to prototype, live streamed with giveaways, and yeah, you're going to see two teams go at it. Will they be developing in Unity? Maybe, maybe not.
I'm going to advise against programming your own framework for a one-weekend game jam, however.
No, in fact, we don't allow it. But yes. And yes, Surge King, we are actually expanding. There is something massive coming to MMO Buff soon. But I'm not allowed to say anything because of NDAs. Sad face. But don't worry. Hopefully you guys will enjoy what we bring, especially the people we bring, because, yeah, for those of you who are curious and who were asking me, and I got like so many Skype messages and emails about this, and I don't know why, but I did. Yes, I am streaming The Secret World this weekend, specifically because I wanted to prove to people why that questing experience is insane. So, yeah. You'll see me streaming this weekend. You will also see me playing a variety of other games. And you have nothing to worry about, Oz. I love WildStar. I'm not going to leave it. But there are many games I must play in order to be a good game journalist. I don't believe in reporting on things without playing them. That's kind of stupid. So I am going to be playing all of the games because I'm on, like, all of the shows. Except for one. So, yeah. And you guys will get a chance to see me do stuff. Yes.
Yeah, let Screen do his random tangent, however.
There
we go.
Take a look at some of the swag we got back from Gamescom. And yes, we are...
That is some of it.
Only some. This is something to keep in mind. We have a lot of things that we are going to be giving away. A lot of things.
And thank you to Screenager for, as he said, dragging that back from Germany for us.
What's really great is a little old lady in a little tiny micro stopped and tried to, like, help and says, I can help put your stuff in the car if you need to do things, etc. So that made me smile. But yeah, this is something you guys need to remember. Here at MMO Buff, the swag is not for us, it's for you. Otherwise, I will beat people up on the team. I'm Swagzilla for a reason. I'm Lopzilla for a reason. I am all about ensuring you all get the goods. So.
Indeed. But on that note, I think it is time to do a disappearing act.
It is. Just want to quickly...
Robots, Silico, Screen, Ebon...
There's a lot of names.
Nicodemus. I could go on for a long time.
You could.
Thank you, all of you. It is good to be back.
And Melois, do understand, I am actually going in with a character that I have already leveled. And I'm going in to kind of... I may do something special. I don't know yet. I'm going in with one of our editors at MMO Buff to play, and I don't know. We'll see. But if you come into the stream when I go to stream tomorrow, it'll be after I get all of the videos up from this past week up on YouTube. So do keep your eyes out on that as well. If you missed a show, it's not a big deal. You can find us on YouTube. Bye. Hearts. Toodle pip. I love you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.